and welcome to Cyberside Chats. My name is Sherri Davidoff. I'm the founder of LMG Security.
And I'm Matt Durrin, the Director of Training and Research for LMG Security.
And today we're going to talk about DeepSeek AI, the #1 top-ranking app in the Apple Store. And I believe it already has 4.5 million downloads in just a little over a week on Android too. Is that right?
Insanely popular app in the Play Store under the productivity section.
So why is it so popular, and what does that have to do with cybersecurity?
That's a good question. So for those who are not following this specific one of the millions of cybersecurity stories that came out this week, this is a new AI assistant. So something like
From China,
something like ChatGPT or Grok AI.
Made by China.
But there are some differences between this and I think the other ones that we're kind of used to using at this point that make the security behind it and whether or not we actually should be using it, especially in like a corporate environment.
It's made by China and made by China?
Made by China and made by China. And of course, again, we all know how much the U.S. government loves when Chinese apps skyrocket on the charts like this.
It's also free with unlimited queries. So in that respect, it really rivals ChatGPT and some of its competitors. And so there's a real incentive for both individuals and corporations to be using this technology. But what are the concerns about using a Chinese-based AI tool, even though it appears to be very, very functional and useful?
Yeah, I mean, we can go back and talk about TikTok with this one. I mean, the worry is that
TikTok.
there's going to be some kind of siphoning of data of the U.S. users that's going to be going directly to like the Chinese government as an example. Whether or not that's actually happening, I mean, we don't know, but that is probably going to be like the biggest fear about using an application like this. And we've seen with other AIs before that there's the potential for leaking data out of those applications. I mean, it happens.
What do you think is the bigger cybersecurity threat for businesses? TikTok or DeepSeek AI?
I mean,
if they got in a battle.
If you're talking about productivity, probably TikTok. I mean, that wastes a ton of time.
Okay, that's a good point.
No, I mean, something like an AI engine would be potentially pretty bad. I mean, when we look back at like the history of ChatGPT as an example. Samsung for a while had banned ChatGPT because they figured out employees were uploading like meeting transcripts and potentially like source code and things that would be pretty damaging if they got out there. And I mean, it's a free AI. All this stuff goes into the training set. Like,
and we were concerned hackers might get that or ChatGPT might spit that out in other forms. And now you're literally giving it to an organization associated with hackers. You're just giving them your data. Like, they don't even need to hack into you. We're just literally handing it over to them. And don't get me wrong, like, we are pro-technology. China has produced some amazing things. But the fact remains that over the past 2-3 decades, we've seen countless times that from the very beginning, China has been trying to hack into American organizations in order to conduct economic warfare, to counterfeit products, to steal our information so they can do the R&D, so they understand our pricing model, so that they don't have to do all that legwork and they can compete more effectively. Oh, and by the way, there's things like extortion and stuff like that that we also have to worry about.
Sure. I mean, we just like recently saw the Office of Foreign Asset Control hacked by what was alleged to be a Chinese nation-state group. I mean, it's happening. So it is something that we do need to keep in mind. And as you mentioned before, I mean, the other thing is like this is ridiculously cheap. Like not just to use, but it was really cheap to produce too. I mean, they say what it costs like $6 million to put this engine together, as opposed to $100 million for GPT-4.
I could find that in my couch cushion. $6 million. That's like nothing.
But it uses like way less power. I mean, when this came out, there was kind of such a fear about how it was going to impact the AI market that NVIDIA's stock price fell by about 17%. I mean, they wiped like $600 billion nearly off of their total market valuation. That is massive.
I am killing myself for not buying NVIDIA at the bottom. Like, you knew it was going to bounce back.
back. Yeah, totally. And I mean, this has been so popular so far, and it's been outpacing so many of the other AI offerings out there that people around the world have actually decided to start attacking the DeepSeek AI platform. I mean, there's what looks to be a massive denial of service attack going after them right now to keep people from signing up for the application. Like, they're trying to keep people off of it.
Okay, who do you think is doing that?
I'm not going to speculate.
All right, we're not going to speculate. We're not going to speculate about who's trying to keep anybody off of China's DeepSeek AI.
Right, yeah.
Not speculating. Okay, but the bottom line is the risk of data theft is very, very high here. And it's hard to convince, like, a smaller, mid-sized business that this could have real-world implications, but it absolutely can. We can get undercut very quickly, and that really has an implication for U.S. companies and companies in other countries as well. So also, let's talk about free AI security and the security of these tools and the passwords that people are using and things like that. What are your concerns, Matt?
I mean, my concern is basically the same concern I had when ChatGPT first came out. I mean, we have this new tool that a lot of people are obviously already using and are going to continue to use. But it's weird when you talk about free tools like the original ChatGPT when it came out. People did not take security on that platform seriously, like at all. And it started with the usernames and passwords they were using. I mean, there was a hacker forum that had a database of over 100,000 hacked ChatGPT credential sets in it. And when you looked at the actual passwords that people were using to set up their ChatGPT accounts, I mean, they were top of the list for bad passwords. I mean, it was the word password. It was 12345 6.
I have an idea for a research project.
Okay.
We need to go on the dark web and find leaked ChatGPT passwords. And then let's wait a month and then find leaked DeepSeek AI passwords and see how many of them are the same.
Because I bet there will be a leak of DeepSeek passwords at some point.
Good thing everyone's using multi-factor authentication for their ChatGPT and DeepSeek AI experiences.
Yeah, that's totally happening.
It's totally happening. So we also have password reuse issues as well to consider.
Yeah.
Now, some other implications are there's the shadow AI issue. So even if you say, you know what, we're not going to use this for our company, what's to stop individuals in your company from using it, especially if they already have BYOD, if they put it on their personal devices? Again, this is cheaper than ChatGPT. You can do unlimited queries. And even if someone knows, like, maybe this isn't the right thing to do, once you've hit that limit on ChatGPT, you might be like, you know what, I'm just going to download DeepSeek AI.
Yeah.
Just this once. I'm going to eat the chocolate chip.
I have a hard time functioning without my AI at this point. I don't know what it would do if it went away. Well, we have to think about, too, like, who's actually using AI? Like, who in the industry is using AI, generative AI specifically for a lot of stuff? And, like, top of that list is healthcare, and then finance, and then manufacturing, and then legal. I mean, those are, like, the top four.
Well, and healthcare is so budget-strapped also. I mean, if I were an executive at a healthcare organization, I'd be like, wow, this is cheaper and better, and I can save more lives with it. Like,
No, we work with medical organizations all around the country, and I've heard horror stories from like more than one of them about doctors and nurses who are, I mean, they're in a hurry, they're trying to get in to see a patient, they need to get a medical record transferred in there, and so they'll just send it off to their personal Gmail account and look at it on their phone while they're working with the patient, and that is like prime territory for health information.
That's happening with AI.
Oh yeah,
I don't like to think my doctor's like typing things into ChatGPT, but I bet it happens.
I bet it's happening.
Oh God, I'm gonna cry. Okay, but I mean, forget ChatGPT, DeepSeek AI.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I worry about educating leadership also because again, if I were a leader in an organization and had a real budget constraints and cost decisions to make, I could see a lot of leaders saying, you know what, the risks are worth it and they're business friendly and we're going to go with the tool based in China.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And again, even if your organization says, you know what, we're not going to go with DeepSeek AI because it's based in China, what are your suppliers doing? Are they using AI based in China or other countries that you may not have considered? So that's something to think about. Nowadays, when you're vetting your vendors, we already have been talking about the need to ask if they're using AI tools, especially if they have any sensitive information about you whatsoever. And now you might want to think about asking them which AI tools they're using.
Well, yeah, I mean, the one I always bring up is Expedia. Like they mention in Expedia commercials at this point that when you sign up for travel packages through them, they have ChatGPT integrated into the Expedia platform. So you can ask it questions and you can get like tips on where to go when you go to certain locations. We know they're using AI and we know they're using ChatGPT, but only because they explicitly said we're using ChatGPT. I mean, how many chatbots have you dealt with on a website that were very obviously AI, and we don't know which AI is actually running that platform? I mean, it could be something like DeepSeek
would tell us the truth.
Sure it would, yeah. That's exactly what it told me when I asked it earlier today, which was kind of interesting.
Oh, that's another issue. Do you want to talk about your experience using it and censorship and things like that?
Yeah. So I got a little bit of time to play around with that. As I mentioned before, they're under like massive denial of service, so it was kind of difficult to get an account up and running on that system. I got one.
Good job.
But looking through, I mean, first and foremost, we were able to prompt inject it, which was kind of fun. So prompt injection, for those that don't know, it's when you specifically tailor your requests into an AI to make it do something it's not supposed to do. So you've all seen us use like Worm GPT before and like make phishing emails. Well, if you ask ChatGPT to write you a phishing email, it's going to tell you it can't do that.
We ask it nicely
But if you
in
ask
a
it
different way.
Yeah, ask it the right way, and sometimes you can get those things to break. And we were able to do that with DeepSeek today, just by phrasing our query in a very specific way and kind of confusing it. The tactic we used was called confusion to do that. We were able to get it to do exactly that, make phishing emails for us, and give us a direct handbook on how to do a phishing campaign.
And it can make malware too,
Oh
right?
yeah, and it can make malware. There's a company called Security that went through and did some serious testing on this over the last few days, and they were able to basically trick it into creating ransomware and creating info stealers and
Can I just crawl under my desk right now? I'm just like, I need to loot a hole.
But I mean that'll have an implication. That means that hackers can use a system like this to their advantage as well, and that's gonna mean a lot to us in security because it's another AI threat that we have to deal with, and there's already a ton of them. So yeah.
So let's talk about what you can do to, how do I put this, to manage the risk associated with DeepSeek AI. Number one, decide on your policy. If you haven't already, decide what your policy is regarding use of AI in your organization. Spoiler alert, ChatGPT is really good at creating these policies. All you have to do is tweak it and edit it, and it'll give you options. But seriously, decide what your policy is, put it in writing, communicate it, and as part of that process, make sure that you're asking the question of, are you comfortable with AI developed or hosted in foreign countries? And if so, which ones?
Yeah.
You may have regulatory requirements that limit that as well. So just think about that. Which AIs are you, AIs, is that a thing now? Are you comfortable using? Number two, I know training and awareness is a big thing.
Yeah.
You're a director of training. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into. I mean, first and foremost, you need to train your leadership on what the risks of something like this in your organization look like, and if they are willing to accept those risks. Your users are also needing education on what the potential pitfalls are for using something like DeepSeek. I mean, it's super convenient. It is same with all the other AI engines out there. I mean, they are great for productivity. They can help you get things done faster.
They're free.
They are free, which means that they're readily accessible. But again, there are risks to using them that people just need to be aware of.
Yep. Third, make sure you're updating your supplier vetting program. And some of you might already have followed our recommendations and started asking AI questions. Now you probably want to be thinking about which AI or which country is your AI hosted in, or questions like that that are a little bit more specific. And by the way, you can find all of our AI readiness recommendations on LMG's resources site. We'll put a link in the show notes. But check out our checklist on adapting to AI risks. This is everything we're going over is mentioned in that. Okay, Matt, you want to talk about IR plans and how we need to be updating those?
I'd love to. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this in a couple other broadcasts, but we've had a lot of requests for integrating AI-based threats into things like tabletop exercises and into incident response plans because they're getting to be realistic threats. They're not a myth anymore. They're here. So just make sure that, I mean, if you are putting together your IR plan or you're making some adjustments to it, account for that. This stuff can be used by hackers, and it can be used to make malware. And going up against an AI or something that's built with AI is different than something that was more traditional malware or something along those lines. They're harder to spot. They're better put together. It's tough.
And what are you going to do when you find out that someone has uploaded your meeting transcripts or your sensitive source code, like Samsung, like Samsung did? What are you going to do when you find out that that's happened? Is that a data breach for you? How are you going to react? Does your cyber insurance cover it? All of those things are questions that you want to consider, and the answer may depend on which AI it was uploaded to and which country that's hosted in.
Yeah.
So bottom line is, this is a fast-moving topic. Keep your eyes on the news and tune in next week for more Cyberside Chats.